Well, even a Category 2 hurricane could spell disaster for the very vulnerable city of New Orleans. And a Category 5 Katrina is expected to cause catastrophic damage. We keep using that word catastrophic because, frankly, it fits. The National Weather Service says people exposed to the storm will die. Wooden structures will be simply destroyed. Windows will be blown out. Debris will be flying through the air. High-rise buildings will sway dangerously, a few to the point of total collapse. Jeff Goldblatt joins us now live in New Orleans, who is outside the Superdome. And Jeff, looks like you're getting kind of wet right there. Am I wrong?
No, you're seeing good things there, Lori. We are starting to get wet here. First sign of some strong storms. We're starting to see some lightning in the sky and hearing the rumble of thunder. We've been out here outside the Superdome all day showing you pictures of people waiting to get inside and spend the night hunkered down and avoiding Katrina. This is a line of people, a line that used to be down on street level, but because the rain is picking up in intensity, the National Guard wanted to bring people undercover, and so they're waiting here outside the Superdome in order to get inside.
They won't let them walk out of there because I'm standing right above that convention center. And what they've done is they've locked them in there. The government said, you go here and you'll get help, or you go in that Superdome and you'll get help, and they didn't get help. They got locked in there, and they watched people being killed around them, and they watched people starving, and they watched elderly people not get any medicine. And now they know it's happening because we've been telling them repeatedly over and over every day.
You know, so who knew?
So how long were you in the hospital? How many days? When did you get out?
2 days, and then we were transported to that corner. And what we heard is that we were going to be dropped off by boat to a corner, and the buses would pick us up, and we would be heading to Texas. That's what we were told.
And then the buses come and they take you where?
It wasn't buses. It was the police had to commandeer vehicles. They were asking people in the crowd if they knew how to drive trucks and buses. They were stealing them. The police had to steal vehicles. And so it was totally different than what we anticipated.
So wait, they're just taking any random, like, truck and hot wiring
buses. Yeah.
And so what was the vehicle that you got to the next place in? Like, what were you in?
There was a key and lock van.
Right, locksmith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to be driving around, and the police made him start taking us.
And then you go to where?
We go to the convention center. And when we arrived, there were people all on the street under the bridge, and we were like, why are these people on the street? Why aren't they in the convention center? And when we got there, people were saying, you don't want to go in there.
Did you go inside at all?
Not until the next day.
What'd you see?
Inside?
Yeah.
A sewer. A sewer, literally, because I had to use the bathroom. And I was like, where's the bathroom? So I went inside. The whole place was a bathroom. And stepping in feces, stepping in urine, all over the carpets. I mean, I used to work at the convention center. It was just, that was hard to see. It was a beautiful building, and it was a toilet.
And where'd you all sleep?
We slept on the sidewalk. This place, there was trash all over the ground outside, and I was thinking, how are the girls going to even lay down with their babies? There's not a spot that's clean. Nothing. There's nowhere to lay down. You know? And then what my mom wanted me to make sure I tell you, what they kept doing the whole time was tell us to line up for the buses that never came. It was like they were doing drills every 4 hours. You all have to line up for the bus, and if you bum rush the bus, they're just going to take off without you, and nobody's going to get to go anywhere. You have to line up. You have to be in a straight line. We're talking about old people in wheelchairs and women with babies in lines waiting for buses that you know goddamn well aren't coming. Like they were playing with us. I figured it out early in the morning, but what am I supposed to do, make an announcement? The buses aren't coming. And so I walked up to the so-called head guy in charge of our section, and I told him, I said, why do you have these people sitting out here in this sun? And you know these buses aren't coming. The buses are coming. I said, you're just playing with us. Who gives you the authority to keep lining us up like this, to stand in this heat? He was like, well, I know the guy who can make the call for the buses. I said, well, why hasn't he called them? People are dying. He said, I wish I could tell you what you wanted to hear. I said, I want to hear the truth. Are the buses coming or not? We need to get these old people and these babies out of this heat. And then he just walked away, and we were left there. without help, without food, without water, without sanitary conditions, as if it's perfectly all right for these animals to reside in a frickin' sewer like rats. Because there was nothing but black people back there.
Yeah.
Disposable. And then the story became, they left us here to die. They're going to kill us.
You mean that's what people were saying to each other?
Yeah.
And is that what you believed?
I was almost convinced.
Yeah.
But somehow these guys got together, figured out who had guns, and decided they were going to make sure that no women were getting raped, because we did hear about the women getting raped in the Superdome, and, you know, that nobody was hurting babies, and nobody was hurting these old people. They were the ones getting juice for the babies. They were the ones getting clothes for people who had walked through that water. They were the ones fanning the old people, because that's what moved the guys, the gangster guys, the most. The plight of the old people. That's what haunts me the most, seeing those old people sitting in them chairs and not being able to get up and walk around or nothing.
Why didn't people just walk away? That's what I don't understand.
We weren't allowed. The police, people kept trying to go up the bridge so they could go to Algiers, and they'd be turned away, and they'd be sent back down.
And literally, they would just like go a couple streets away, and somebody would send them back.
They'd go up the bridge,
right,
to go across to the West Bank where it was dry,
right,
and lights were on, you know, and the National Guard was up there with guns. They turned them back with guns, and the governor gave orders to shoot to kill. You couldn't get through them.
Yeah.
So people would go up the bridge. Every time they lined us up for the buses, and the buses wouldn't come, people in groups would go up the bridge trying to get across the river. People who had family across the river couldn't get across the river. They were not letting us out of there. They wasn't letting nobody in. So we were trapped. I can't even express it. The police kept passing us by, and the National Guard kept passing us by with their guns pointed at us. And because they wouldn't, when you see a truck full of water and people have been crying for water for a day and a night, and the water truck passes you by, just keeps going, how are we supposed to believe these people were here to help us? It was almost like they were taunting us. And then, don't forget, they kept lining us up for buses that never showed up.
Yeah.
We thought they were playing with us. In that best-case scenario and in worst-case scenario, they wanted us to either kill each other or die.
Denise Moore, she's now in Baton Rouge. She's okay. She's just found a new job there.
Months ago, the U.S. had a wake-up call of what hyperinflation in this country will look like. The mainstream media largely ignored this story, but NIA believes it is one of the most important stories of 2010 so far because it provides a window into what will occur nationwide during hyperinflation. On May 1st, 2010, a water pipe ruptured in Weston, Massachusetts, 15 miles west of Boston, and 8 million gallons of water flooded into the Charles River.
I have declared a state of emergency and am issuing the following directions. First, all residents in the impacted communities should boil their drinking water before consuming it. Failure to boil drinking water rapidly for at least a minute could cause illness, in some cases serious illness.
Attention, the FWRA has announced a boil water emergency in this area.
Millions of residents immediately rushed to buy bottled water at local stores, and within hours, all retail stores in Boston were out of bottled water.
Hour and a half after we opened, we were basically back to square one with no water.
They're like every place else.
And the water shelves aren't the only empty ones.
Obviously with no water, no dishwasher, the trickle-down effect is a significant effect on the paper plates and the paperware.
Even more shocking than how quickly retail stores ran out of water was how quickly Americans turned into animals fighting over water.
Don't bother going to the supermarket. It's crazy. It's like a big brawl. Don't go.
And they're fighting over it. Literally fighting over water.
I just had to fight my way through the aisles because it's crazy in there.
Everybody just started grabbing cases and cases. There's no more water in there.
Mother of God.
Most Americans aren't prepared for the currency crisis that is ahead and will likely wait until the very last minute to prepare. Unfortunately, by the time hyperinflation becomes apparent to all, it will be too late for Americans to purchase the goods that they will need to live and survive. Residents in the greater Boston area were able to survive the water main break only with the help of the National Guard.
This line is about 2 miles long and stretches back to the Lynn border. Many of the people here have been in line since before 7 o'clock this morning, waiting to get their case of water.
They're getting a case of water, even though it did say 2 cases on the press release. Unfortunately, we didn't receive the other truck in time.
Within 2 hours, volunteers had distributed about 840 cases. And then, with dozens of cars waiting, came this announcement.
We are out of water. We have no more water at this time.
The Boston water emergency quickly ended days later after workers stopped the spill and began repairs on the pipe. Americans won't be so lucky during hyperinflation.
How long have you been online for?
6.5 hours. 6.5 hours for gas.
Here in Brooklyn, drivers are getting a taste of what price controls are all about.
I was online earlier this morning for 3 hours and just missed the cutoff by 5 vehicles. And I'm going back to Staten Island, so I'm trying to get gas to go home.
So why does this entire region look like it's 1973 again? After Hurricane Sandy knocked out New Jersey's gas refineries, Governors Christie and Cuomo threatened to prosecute any station owners guilty of raising prices. If you can't raise prices, there's no incentive to truck more gas in from other parts of the country.
We can't get gas. We ain't gonna be able to pick up people for Monday, and we stuck out here, just hanging out, watching everybody else trying to get gas.
I've been here since 6:43 in the morning, making the line over and over and over again. And I will do that for as long as it takes, as long as I can.
But thanks to some small businessmen, there's still an alternative to waiting.
Tell me the real deal. What's happening here?
We're gonna sell this gas.
How much?
Depends, probably $7. We usually double it. It's happening at every gas station, you know? A lot of people honestly don't want to wait 3 hours, you know?
Somebody just came up here in a van just now and sold,
I'm not telling you.
sold 2.5 gallon can for $50.
On Long Island, another bumper-to-bumper line taking up an entire lane of traffic. In Brooklyn, they wanted gas for their generators, while in Yonkers, the mayor ordered gas rationing. CNBC's Mary Thompson covers the oil and gas business.
Gas lines like these are found all along the New Jersey Turnpike from right outside of New York all the way down through Philadelphia.
One big problem, 2 of the region's 5 refineries are offline or just starting to limp back to life. And tanker ships have been unable to get into the damaged harbor to offload their fuel. Yeah, not looking too good. So it's the ports, it's the terminals, it's the electricity, it's the gridlock. On top of that, it's the mass transit system that's down. You got a lot of components here, and Matt, they say that this is going to take a long time to work through. It's not going to be done today. Back to you.
It's rather a heartbreaking scene here. We came across this as we were driving in this neighborhood, trying to get a true sense of the aftermath of Sandy. As you know, the Lower East Side and the East Village without power since Sandy hit. They're not expected to get their power back since Saturday at the least, at the earliest. And look how desperate it has gotten here in this neighborhood. We're here outside the Key Foods, Avenue A and East 4th Street, and people are dumpster diving. And what they're going after here is the food that was inside these Key Foods. We presume it all spoiled and was dumped out here for garbage, but instead those here, some that I've spoken with, so hungry, they literally pried open this dumpster. You see that door open right now, and they are literally picking through for whatever they can take home with themselves.
Is they went ahead and they took, 6 cops on the front door, and they had another 6 or 10 within 100 feet of the place. They had armored cars, they had helicopters. Then they smash on the door, and they bring the people out one by one, having them hold their hands on their heads, screaming and yelling at these people like they killed a cop. Now, the people went for it. They went for the program. And they're idiots. I mean, the cops were idiots, and the people are bigger idiots. But what we saw here was a dry run for something. This is what bombing? If there's no bombing, why the heck are they taking a 20 square block area and going door to door and terrorizing the people?